Dear students, welcome to our YouTube channel A Vision. Here you will find practice material for PTE. If you like our videos, then please subscribe our channel. Thank you.
But as I stretched to catch the drips and drops of their humming dialogue, I couldn't understand it all, only that it was English. Those words now flying before me sounded a little familiar. I had read them and tried to speak them, but I had never heard them spoken back to me in such a speedy, fluent manner. My big plan of beating the city folks was thawing before my eyes. Genetically modified foods provide no direct benefit to consumers. The food is not noticeably better or cheaper. The greater benefit, proponents argue, is that genetic engineering will play a crucial role in feeding the world's burgeoning population. Opponents disagree, asserting that the world already grows more food per person than ever before, more, even, than we can consume. Having tracked down research that is relevant to your area of interest, the next task is to actually make sense of that research. This section is intended to show you how to be critical of the research you are reviewing and how to check that the evidence is credible and represented appropriately. Unfortunately, this means discussing the ways in which research findings may be misrepresented. The Lauder family's shares are worth more than $6 billion. But early on, there wasn't a burgeoning business, there weren't houses in New York, Palm Beach, Fla, or the south of France. It is said that at one point there was one person to answer the telephones who changed her voice to become the shipping or billing department as needed. You more or less know the Estee Lauder story because it's a chapter from the Book of American Business Folklore. In short, Josephine Esther Menzer, daughter of immigrants, lived above her father's hardware store in Corona, a section of Queens in New York City. She started her enterprise by selling skin creams concocted by her uncle, a chemist, in beauty shops, beach clubs and resorts.
An exotic type of diamond may have come to Earth from outer space, scientists say, called carbonado or black diamonds. The mysterious stones are found in Brazil and the Central African Republic. They are unusual for being the color of charcoal and full of frothy bubbles. In recent decades, there has been a renewed interest in the study of culture that has cross-disciplinary boundaries. The resulting activity, cultural studies, has emerged as an intriguing and exciting area of intellectual inquiry that has already shed important new light on the character of human cultures and which promises to continue so to do. While there is little doubt that cultural studies is coming to be widely recognized as an important and distinctive field of study, it does seem to encompass a potentially enormous area. This is because the term, culture, has a complex history and range of usages, which have provided a legitimate focus of inquiry for several academic disciplines. It is very much of interest to the European Union as well. The civil dialogue initiated by the Commission in the 1990s was a first attempt by the EU to give the institutions of society, and not only governments and businesses, a voice at the policy-making tables in Brussels. The EU, like other international institutions, has a long way to go in trying to accommodate the frequently divergent interests of non-governmental organizations and citizen groups. There is increasing recognition that international and national governments have to open up to civil society institutions.
But art historians and curators have long been curious to know how different this repetition is from the first. Should it be considered a copy, an independent artwork, or something in between? An extensive research project conducted over the past 3 years by conservation experts at both the National Gallery and the Van Gogh Museum has concluded that the second painting was not intended as an exact copy of the original example, said Ella Hendricks, a professor of conservation and restoration at the University of Amsterdam, who was the lead researcher on the project. Along the way we have built unashamedly beautiful buildings, 2 of which have won and another was runner-up in the prestigious United Nations World Habitat Award, the first time an Australian building has received that international honor. We rely on older concepts of Australian architecture that are heavily influenced by the bush. All residents have private verandas which allow them to socialize outdoors and also creates some defensible space between their bedrooms and public areas. We use a lot of natural and soft materials to build beautiful landscape gardens. Now that the story's been scratched, it is only part of contingency planning. But it was a symptom of the dramatic turn of events in South Australia, and it flushed out other remarks from water academics and people like Tim Flannery, indicating that things were really much worse than had been foreshadowed, even earlier this year. So is Adelaide, let alone some whole regions of South Australia, in serious bother. Considering that the vast amount of its drinking water comes from the beleaguered Murray, something many of us outside the state may not have quite realized. Is their predicament something we have to face up to as a nation?